talking about the geography portion, that is the chapter 1, our environment. Now, environment is what? Environment means the surroundings where we are living, means the air, the human beings, the birds, the animals, the plants, the hills, the mountains, everything, okay? Now, the environment means our surroundings. Now, here, first of all, let's know about how is our how is the name environment used, okay? Now, environment is a French word, is derived, means it got its name from a French word named environnement, okay? Environment means our neighborhood, okay? Neighborhood means nearer to us, okay? Now, it is derived, environment is derived from a French word environnement, which means our neighborhood. Now, here, let's see about who are present in our environment. Now, the things which are present in our environment can be simply classified into two forms: living things and non-living things. Now, let's see what is living thing, or we can say the natural environment is divided. Now, natural environment, the natural environment means that we get from nature, okay? Now, natural are divided into two types: physical and biological. Now, what is physical environment and what is biological environment is given here. Now, physical environment is comprises of non-living or abiotic elements. For example, the air, the water, then the sea, the land, the soil, the mud. Okay, all this is comprises of physical environment. Now, let's move into the biological environment. Now, biological environment means those things, okay, which breathes, or we can say as a living being. For example, the plants, the animals, okay, the microbial organisms, okay, this we come under the biotic elements, or we can say it is called the biological environment, okay. Now, biological and physical. Physical means the non-living and biological means living beings, okay, or we can say the biophysical environment, or means which have no life at all. For example, the abiotic elements. And biological environment means all the living beings which have life, okay, or we can say, we call it as biotic elements. Okay, this is the difference between living, in simple sense, living and non-living. Okay, now this is what? Now, here, when we are talking about living beings and non-living, physical and biological, biotic and abiotic, what is the main important source of energy? Now, when we discuss about the main source of energy that we get on the earth is the sun, or we can say it is the solar energy. Okay, now here you find that all these biotic, abiotic, physical and biological, all these things get energy from the solar system, that is the sun. Okay, then now let's move into the natural environment. Natural environment, or we can say how is our earth divided. Okay, our earth is divided into 4 forms. Okay, or we can say into different spheres or parts. Okay, let's see. Okay, this is the shape, or we can say. Now, biosphere is the middle one. This we can say is the biosphere. Then let's move into the atmosphere. Then let's move into the hydrosphere. And next is the lithosphere. Okay, now here from the diagram only we come to know about where human beings can live. Now, first of all, let's move into the lithosphere now. Lithosphere. Lithosphere is the outermost part of the earth. Okay, it is the outermost part of the earth, and it is made up of crushed, or we can say rocks. Okay, it is made up of rocks, and it is also known as, it includes continents and ocean bases. Now here in lithosphere we find that water is also present, and the amount of water that is present on the earth is 71%, and the rest, how many percent? There is 29%. Now 71% is water and 29% is land. We find our earth is very big, but only some part is land and the other part is all water. Okay, that's why we find that there is 71% of the earth is water and 29% is land, and that part is known as, that is comprises of lithosphere. Now let's move into hydrosphere now. Hydrosphere, when we talk about hydrosphere, we find that this is the part, okay, which is comprises of sea, ocean, lakes and rivers, means the water part. This is known as a hydrosphere, or we can say the importance and all this go into the book and see. Okay, now let's move into the atmosphere. Now next is the atmosphere. Now atmosphere means the area where we have the types of air, okay, which we can say. First part is the sandy area, the rocky area. Second one is the water part. Third part, atmosphere, is the air part. For example, the nitrogen, hydrogen, okay, the nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen, okay, then nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen. Now this third part, or the third part of the earth, comprises of air, okay, that is oxygen, nitrogen and hydrogen. When we discuss about the atmosphere, okay, which gas has its maximum percent on, okay, now here nitrogen we have nitrogen is how many percent? 78, it is 78% of the air is nitrogen. Then oxygen is 21%. Okay. Then next is, and the remaining air is comprises of hydrogen, argon, then helium and ozone. Okay, helium and ozone. Here we find that out of the 100%, most of the air is nitrogen, and it comprises of 78%. Second comes the oxygen with 21%, and the remaining only 1%. We say 1% comprises of hydrogen, argon, helium and ozone. Just imagine the amount of air we breathe or we use for is needed, which is present in the air, is mostly nitrogen, oxygen with 21%, nitrogen with 78%, and only 1% we find that hydrogen, and that 1% is also a combination of hydrogen, argon, helium and ozone. This is about the atmosphere. And next, lastly, let's move into the biosphere now. Now, what is biosphere? Now, biosphere is the area of the earth where we have animals, okay, birds, okay, trees, and also human beings. Okay, now now here let's little bit a revision of the spheres. Hydrosphere are mostly rocky. Lithosphere are mostly rocks or this one crushed. Then hydrosphere we have the water part, that is sea, ocean, lakes and rivers. Atmosphere, we have the air portion. And lastly, the biosphere. When we discuss about biosphere, we have the animals, birds, trees and human beings, means the area where these living beings survive. When we discuss about the biosphere, okay, now we call it as a human kingdom, animal kingdom or bird, means where we can stand and walk. Okay, that is known as the biosphere. Now, after this, let's move into the ecosystem now. Here, lastly, ecosystem. Now, what is ecosystem? Ecosystem means a balance in the environment. Okay, ecosystem means a balance in the environment. Now, here, I'll give you an example. Here, what are the things we need? Plants, okay, plants, animals, and human beings. Okay, now what will happen? This is a circle. If animals do not eat plants, and if plants are not eaten by human beings, and human beings if doesn't consume animals, we find that the amount or the number will increase. Okay, and for that reason, just think, okay, if an animal doesn't consume plants, the amount, the area of the plants will be more. The plants, there will be in abundance, and if there is no way of cutting or eating down the plants, we find that the whole earth will be comprised of plants only. Okay, and because we find that, and it is because of that animals consume plants. Okay. And plants are being consumed by human beings, and human beings also consume both plants and animals. So that we find that in order to have an environmental balance, or we can say the eco balance. Okay, next let's move into another example. That is the grass. Okay, now what is we know that grass is being eaten by a grasshopper. Okay, now next, this grass is eaten by a grasshopper, and grasshopper is eaten by a rat. Now, who eats this rat? Now, the next comes the snake. Now, here another one more powerful person than this snake is the eagle. E-A-G-L-E. Okay. Now, here this is an example of eco balance. Okay, now here first let's start with grass. Now there will be abundance of grass if the grasshopper doesn't consume grass. Okay, and there will be an abundance of grasshopper if the rat doesn't consume grasshopper. Here again, the amount or the number of rats will be more if the snake doesn't eat the rats. Okay, this is here. Next, let's move into another one. This eagle, if doesn't they eat snake, the amount of snake will be more in this environment. This is a change between one another for survival on this environment. This is what we call it as eco balance. Okay, this is what from this chapter. Now let's move into the human environment now. Human environment. All of us, we know that human beings are very crazy, or we can say, we call it as they want more and more. Human beings, okay, in olden days they don't have food, proper food to eat, proper house to live in. But with the development of their new thinkings, when they develop new ideas, okay, the land or the area which was very beautiful with all the natural beauty, we find that because in order to fulfill their own willingness or benefit, they have cut down all the trees and made all the animals and birds without any home. They were made homeless. Okay, now the cutting of new areas, okay, for the construction of new things, for the construction of roads, for the construction of buildings, for the construction of industries. This system of development or construction in the human life has destroyed our natural environment a lot. And in this way, we find that from the time when human beings started surviving till today, there was a lot of changes, and these changes were only brought by destroying the natural environment. Now here, let's see what were the process the human beings did, or what torture they, how did they torture the natural environment. Now those things were, well, we call it as a farming, means they have cut down trees, okay, and emptied the land for farming, then grazing, then mining, then lumbering, okay, industry, transports and construction. But we find that development was made on one side only for human beings, but on the other side we find that our environment is totally being destroyed by the human being, and because of that, we the human beings in the present world are facing a lot of problems regarding the natural environment. This is the chapter of our natural environment. If you have understood, okay, just read the lesson carefully a little bit and go through my explanation. This is all for this chapter. Thank you.
Stay home, stay safe, do it for self, live for family, live for India, let's break the chain of COVID-19. हम होंगे कामयाब। जय हिंद।